Hi everyone, and welcome back to another NAG video review, where today we're going to be taking a look at Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. This one follows the story of Wolf, a shinobi dedicated to and willing to die for some kid named Kuro, who happens to be a divine heir. Kuro has a strange but powerful bloodline, and this fact alone is the driving force behind the game's main narrative. Kuro gets kidnapped by the Ashina clan right at the beginning of the game, leaving us, the gamer, with the job of picking up this faithful shinobi, who by this point is in more than one piece by the way, and getting on with the job of finding the divine heir. The story will take you through some beautifully realized and very obviously Japanese environments, with some of the most spectacular artwork I've seen in a FromSoftware game to date. But as beautiful as it is, the engine is showing signs of its age at this point, and is probably the #1 grumble I've picked up from the internet critique hordes. In typical From fashion, the game, of course, is brutally difficult. The game involves tough fights, impossible odds, and death. Even though this is not a Souls game, Sekiro does still have quite a lot of the Souls DNA. Not a lot, but enough to make it an unmistakable From game. So, I would like to take a look at some of the fundamental differences and just talk about what makes Sekiro as unique as it is in a FromSoftware world where most of their games seem to revolve around using pretty much the same mechanics. So, first of all, this time round, you are not undead or hollowed or endowed with any glamorous title like Chosen One. You are simply Wolf, or Shinobi, as everybody else in the game seems to call you. Let's talk about the enemies and some of their differences. The enemies in Sekiro do have health, just like your Souls games, but you can't just go after the health. Here's where one of the fundamental differences come in. Every fighting enemy has a posture meter in Sekiro, and this needs to be whittled away before you can execute a death blow, killing them instantly regardless of how much health they have left. You can do this by sneaking up on almost all the enemies and delivering a backstab death blow without even having to fight. That's it. Game over for that guy. Or this can be done by jumping from high places like trees, roofs, ledges, etc. and landing on the enemy and delivering a death blow. Some enemies, I must point out, are basically mini-bosses or actual bosses as it will turn out, and they have 2 red dots above their health bar, and yep, you guessed it. These guys can't just do them with 1 death blow, it needs to be 2, or however many dots there are above their bar. The combat, by and large, consists of sneaking, slicing, dicing, deflections, and counters, the last 2 of those being surprisingly forgiving as far as timing goes. And to anyone who's ever played a Souls game, this feels remarkably like parrying, so if you're any good at parrying, you'll find this a very, very easy step into Sekiro. For anybody else, it's going to be more like... And we can't talk about combat without talking about the one other thing that Souls games are really renowned for: dying. But this time there's quite a bit of a difference. In Dark Souls, when you die, you lose your souls, you have to run to your body and go and retrieve them, and if you were human or if you were embered, you are suddenly now hollow and or unembered. And this isn't the case with Sekiro at all. So with Sekiro, when you die, you lose a portion of your experience. Ouch! You also lose half your cash. However, you don't have to go and retrieve anything, i.e. a corpse. And this is a biggie, you can resurrect. Twice. Let me explain. When you die in Sekiro, you can resurrect automatically once, every time. Your first resurrection is reset every time you go and you rest at a jade idol, which is basically the same as a bonfire in Dark Souls. There is also a second resurrection that you can do, but this one's built up over time. When you die the first time, you use the resurrection that comes with every rest that you have at the jade idol. But the second resurrect can only be used once you have performed a death blow after resurrecting the first time. So you can't just resurrect, quickly run in and try and kill somebody quickly and die again and hope to resurrect again. You need to actually kill someone in between. So if you think you're just going to resurrect again and run in again and chop people up again, and then still be able to resurrect, even though you've just died and you haven't killed someone, this isn't going to happen. Having said that, being able to resurrect is amazing, and if you time it just right, you can actually take advantage of the fact that you are suddenly not on the enemy's radar when you do it. Here's an example. Now let's talk about the kit that you get. There won't be any fancy glass cannon builds or haxy Dark Knight halberd runs in this game. In fact, there's not a huge variety of weapons. In fact, if we can be even more honest, there's only one weapon, there's a sword. And the sword doesn't change, it doesn't get any upgrades, it doesn't become any fancier.
But Gareth,
I hear you asking.
won't that make the fighting very bland and unimaginative in a game that is renowned for having very fast and very animated and very interesting combat?
And to you, my good sir, lady, or pronoun of your choice, I say yes, it does. Or rather, it would. Instead, combat is changed up by a variety of combat styles that you can gather as you go along in the game in the form of esoteric texts. Let me explain. Now, esoteric texts come with both active and passive bonuses. Active ones are moves that you can actually perform, and they're usually a combination of your two bumper buttons pressed at the same time that allow you to do really interesting moves. You can only have one kind of active combat style at any given point, but you can switch them out whenever you like. There are also passive perks that come along in this list as well. As you start unlocking them, your shinobi will become a more deft fighter. Over and above this, and also due to the fact that there's, only a sword, you also have the shinobi prosthetic tool. You see, in the beginning of the game, your shinobi's arm gets severed right at the shoulder. I'd imagine that's pretty much game over for anybody even this day and age, but not in ancient Japan. Instead, you get outfitted with this prosthetic tool that functions as a normal arm, but has a variety of gizmos that you can find and eventually upgrade. Most notably here would be the whip that comes straight out the box, and the whip allows you to make the most amazing traversals during combat as well as while you're just running around in general. But there are other tools that come with it that can be used in a variety of ways. For example, a fireworks tool that can temporarily blind or disorient enemies, allowing you to get a couple of hits in while they least expect it. These can be picked up as you travel around the world of Sekiro. They can be fitted and upgraded at the dilapidated temple. This tool is by far the most important weapon in your arsenal, and you can use it in so many different ways. I recommend that you experiment a lot with it, because a lot of the different tools make it so easy to kill enemies that you might get stuck at over and over and over. For example, these guys and their stupid hats that act as shields are very easily cleft in twain with a simple use of the axe and the prosthetic tool. And then finally, I want to wrap up just by talking about the multiplayer. So Dark Souls and Bloodborne both had very complex and intricate multiplayer systems, whereby you could summon in other players to help you, or if you've been a bad boy and you're just in the wrong place at the wrong time, people can also invade your games. Sekiro changes this up by stripping out absolutely every single multiplayer component you could possibly think of. There is none. You cannot summon help, but people cannot invade you either, so that's great. So, does not being able to summon help make the game extremely difficult? Well, yeah, I think so. Speaking as a guy that, played every single Dark Souls game and would frequently wait outside a boss gate just to summon in other players for help, yeah, I would definitely say it's harder. So yeah, what that means is, you're alone. But maybe not quite Kevin McAllister levels of alone. For example, when fighting Juzo the Drunkard, running into the fight by yourself is pretty much your only option. However, at this particular boss, if you take a look here, there is somebody waiting in the reeds, and talking to him will get him to engage in the fight as well. There may or may not be more of this elsewhere in the game. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice is an excellent addition to FromSoftware's repertoire, and one that I've had a lot of fun going through. If you're in any way a fan of FromSoftware, and you're a fan of their crazy difficulty scaling, this is one that you should be putting on your list. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and let us know in the comments what you think. And remember to visit nag.co.za for everything games, tech, and stuff. Cheers.